Hi, sisters. Welcome to the Body Ally podcast, where we learn how to stop battling with our bodies and with food from a faith-based and brain science-based approach. We learn instead how to be an ally with our bodies, partnering with our bodies and accepting them as the gift that God intended, learning how to pursue health goals, not in an effort to prove value, but as an act of love. I'm Kerrie Nygaard, your host. Today, we're going to get into why sabotage behavior occurs and how to keep it from happening. So what is sabotage behavior when it shows up with food? Well, what'll happen is that you'll be going along, things are going well. How it happens for my clients is they'll say, Kerrie, things are going so well. I'm just worried that I'm just looking around wondering when the shoe's going to drop. Or I'm worried I'm going to hit a wall. And what happens is that their past experience with food has been such that it's been a struggle or a battle. So when they experience smooth sailing, they think that something must be wrong. There's very specific brain science-based reasons why this occurs. And I'm going to teach you 4 reasons why this happens and what to do about it. Okay, so let's go ahead and dig right in. The first reason why sabotage behavior with food occurs is that your brain is protecting an old identity. This is really important. Change work, and this is true for anything in life, not just food or body related topics. When you want to change something inherently about how you operate in the world in any place in your life, change work is identity work. Because realize that your upper brain, remember there's the upper brain and the lower brain, and your upper brain is where your conscious, clear thinking, true divine self lies. This is also where your God-given power of choice, your agency is exercised. Here's the thing though, it's the part that you're using as you listen to me and kind of assimilate and understand what I'm saying. It's also the part that I'm using as I talk to you and articulate my meaning. This part of your brain, that prefrontal cortex, conscious thinking, true self, it only operates less than 10% of the thinking in your brain. Over 90% of your thoughts are automated. They're where your beliefs lie. Thoughts that you think on repeat become beliefs. And these beliefs, when they relate to who you are, become your identity, how your brain identifies how you operate. For example, if you have a belief that you've thought for a long time that has become part of your identity, here's a really common one. I'm someone who struggles with food. I'm a food addict. I'm a sugar addict. I got a sweet tooth. I just love food. I'm not telling you not to think these things. I'm just telling you that you have to be careful what you tell your brain about yourself if it's not in line with the experience that you want to have. If you want to struggle with food, if you want to have a sweet tooth, or that's just not a big deal for you, then fine. But if you want to be someone who is at ease with food, who listens to their body and is just a normal eater, eats foods that support their body and then move on with life. And when they're hungry again, they eat again. If that's how you want to be, where you're focused in on living and not on eating, then having thoughts of I struggle with food or I just can't control myself around food, that is what your brain will then believe about you. And that is also what your brain will make true for you. Your brain has the ability to absorb, talking about your lower brain here, millions of pieces of information coming at you throughout the day. But you consciously don't realize all these little bits of pieces of information. Why? Because your lower brain filters this out for you. It's like a database that's had a search parameters been placed on it. And who places the search parameters? You do, by what you consciously choose to think. There's a book called Feeling is the Secret by Neville Goddard. It's a short book. It's a really old school book. My caveat to this book is that some of his analogies are really sexist, but his premise is fantastic and it's right on. He says, whatever you practice feeling is whatever your brain will believe about you. So if you're used to practicing anxiousness, fear, worry, anxiety out of lack of control around food, if that's what you've practiced, that is what your brain will bring to you. So your brain's protecting an old identity. If you haven't your brain needs to know what to believe about itself. You can't just tell your brain, stop thinking that way. That's not what we do. You have to put something else in its place. So what do? You begin to teach your brain who you are by what you choose to think about yourself in relation to food and not only what you choose to tell yourself, but how you choose to feel, how you practice feeling around food. One thing I do with my clients is I teach them about journaling, about visualization, meditation and about affirmations, both spoken out loud and internal self-talk type affirmations. Why are these powerful? Because you're programming the lower brain, and the lower brain is a servant to you. It will create whatever you tell it to create as long as it believes you. So you have to practice a different way of feeling. If you want to feel more confident, you don't have to lose weight to feel more confident. Confidence is an internal job. You begin to move confidently in your body, and pretty soon you begin to feel more confident. Okay. So, really important, what are you telling your brain about your relationship with food? If it's, I'm someone who struggles, or I'm always yo yo dieting, or whatever you tell yourself is what you will believe, you have to first change how you identify. Your brain has to identify yourself as something different before you can create something different and have it stick. Women who think that in order to feel confident, they have to lose weight, and they lose weight and then they feel confident, guess what? If they gain it back, they lose their confidence. But if you know that confidence is an internal job, then guess what? Your confidence will remain no matter where your weight goes. Similarly, if you choose to believe, I am someone that is at peace with food, now your brain might not believe it. So you could do a bridge thought like, I'm someone who is in the process of becoming at peace around food. I'm learning how to become a normal eater. I will soon be a normal eater. I am quickly becoming someone who is normal with food, who is at ease, who is at peace with food. I can take or leave it. It's just food. How do we get there? By programming our brain. If you skip the identity work, then you will have created an external change that cannot be supported in the long run by the internal framework of thoughts and emotions. If your internal identity does not match the results that you've given, the results will be temporary. Okay. The second reason why sabotage behavior occurs, meaning let me kind of back up just a little bit. One way that sabotage behavior can show up is I don't even want to eat this food, but I feel compelled to eat it. It can feel like a compulsion, like, why am I even doing this? I don't want to be doing this. And sabotage behavior can show up in relationships, can show up in your level of success, can show up in your relationship with money, but we're going to focus in on food because that's our thing, right? Food and body. So when your brain has not practiced this new way of being, it will not support the change. Okay. One thing you need to realize is that whatever you believe, whatever you've practiced is what your whole nervous system has been wired to tolerate. For example, children who've never been given responsibilities have a hard time creating resilience in life. So when they go out in life and they discover that there's hard emotions out here and hard things, they crumble. But if they've been exposed to difficult things, then they learn, I can handle this, and then they're more hardy or more resilient. Okay. The same is true for our relationships with food. Let me explain. This is really well explained actually in a book called The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. He talks about something called an upper limit problem. Basically, this is the idea, and I'm going to do it in my own words. Just like your house has a thermostat where you set to not go above this temperature or below this temperature, right? You have kind of a range of temperatures to stay within. Similarly, your body has a set range for what it will tolerate. And you know what it will tolerate? Whatever it is used to doing or has had repeated exposure to. So why might someone why might someone have sabotage behavior? Is because this new way of being, of having ease with food, has not been practiced enough for it to feel safe. So, for example, if your things are going well and you're like, this is great, this is feeling easy, what Kerrie's taught me has been working really well. I see this with my clients. And then all of a sudden they're like, why am I eating this food? Oh my goodness. And as soon as maybe they feel a little bit of discomfort, they don't know what to do with it and they feel unsafe, right? And so one, they have to change their identity, right? That was the first one. And two, they have to practice exposing themselves to it in order for their system to feel safe to be there. How do you feel safe being there? The same way you help a toddler. For example, when a toddler has to go swim, wants to get in the pool for the first time. Some toddlers, no problem. They're going to run and jump in. But other toddlers, they're scared to get in. And you have to show them that you can be trusted. But if you throw them in, they may not like that. And they may not want to get in the pool the rest of the day. It might take them a while to get over that. However, if you say, oh, well, I'm here to help you. You want to dip your toe in? It's really nice. Why don't you come over here to the steps and we can just sit here for a little bit? When you are kind, compassionate, and non-judgmental, very curious with yourself, you are able to raise your upper limit for what your nervous system will tolerate. So that little kid who sits on the edge with their feet in, pretty soon as you're holding their hand, you say, "Oh, why don't you come in and kind of splash a little bit?" And pretty soon they come in a little more and a little more and a little more. And then you're holding them in the water and they're doing just fine. And it's because they through compassion and kindness with yourself with the toddler, they were able to do something new. Similarly with yourself, when you're about to do something new, not interact with food from compulsion through dieting or be out of control with food, but to simply be normal with food and at ease and in control and kind of neutral and interact with food in a way that feels in flow and at ease with your body, you have to practice it through compassion. Your internal self talk needs to be a supportive place. Be a kind friend to yourself. Studies show that anyone who has internal self talk that's positive is able to accomplish and be so much more successful in all things in life. But if you're not a kind place for yourself, you will never feel at ease with anything. Same thing as with food. If you're constantly berating yourself about every choice that you put in your mouth, well, then your system will not feel safe becoming at ease with food because you aren't kindly raising that upper limit to tolerate that. The way you raise your upper limit again is through lots of compassion and kindness, curiosity, helping yourself there, just as you would a toddler to get into the pool for the first time. Okay. So the way this might look is when you notice your brain saying, "Oh my goodness, this is going to way too easy. This is supposed to be hard. This is supposed to be a battle. Food is a struggle and a battle." You catch your brain and you say, "Brain, that's how it used to be, but we're practicing a new thing and we're quickly becoming someone who's at ease with food. This is safe. Notice." And just like you with the toddler in the pool, "Hey, notice I'm right here. We're going to be right by the edge. You can reach out and grab at any point, and I'm going to be right here to hold you." You reassure, you give exit strategies should they need it. Because remember, that lower survival obsessed brain, that little toddler brain, is so worried that it's going to die, so worried about survival. So you support your brain by talking kindly, supportatively. I don't even know if I said that word right, in a supportive way. And then your brain will feel safe and that upper limit rises. Okay. All right. The third reason why sabotage behavior can come in is because you've tied your worth to trying. Let me explain. So many times women are successful in lots of places in their life. But because of diet mentality and how it interacts with our brain, and I've talked about those on previous podcasts, is that they've tried for so long, they've tried and tried and tried, that in the trying of it, their identity has become someone who's constantly striving for this thing. I'm going to give you an example of how this showed up for me. So after my fifth baby, she's 10 years old, well, 10 and a half, almost 11 now. After she was born is when I had had enough. I had lost the baby weight again. I don't know how many times I'd lost this weight. And I couldn't feel at peace with food. So much brain chatter around food. I just needed a break, right? Well, that's when I learned, right? I went on this journey with God where I learned different inspiration from him, different mentors, different information that allowed me to learn and create a simple process to move from struggle to ease with food, to be able to reach health goals, not from dieting, but from a place of partnership, right, with your body. Anyway, after I learned all this, I went on to have a sixth child. And after the sixth child, I was not going to be dieting to lose weight. Instead, I was going to be doing it the way that I had learned, right? And I did. However, there's a one point as we were doing this where there was about I don't know, there was a few pounds left at the end of weight that I thought I would like to release. And there wasn't like a set number that I had to get to, but I was like, there's some weight still hanging in here. Why is this still hanging in here? And I got really intuitive one day. I was in the bathroom and I was just thinking, and I stopped and I asked myself, in kind of an internal reflection type question, what are we so scared of that we're not able to move forward and just release this stored energy this last, I don't know, little bit? And this fear came up. This part of my brain, this thought arose and it said, who will we be? What will we strive for if we're not striving to lose weight? See, even though I had learned a new way, part of my brain that liked to focus in on accomplishing and doing, so much over time I had affirmed those efforts that my brain was worried, where will we get validation? What will we focus in on? What will we try to create if we're not trying to lose weight? If we lose this last bit from a place of ease, what will we focus in on? Who will we be? And I thought, oh my goodness, I totally get it. I know when this surprised me first, but it made perfect sense. And I said to myself, oh my goodness, this is safe to release if you want to, body, right? And if brain, if you're all in on this, we can just release this and it's safe because we have so many other things to focus in on. And I listed off the things we were going to focus in on. And I also let go of the agenda that it had to leave, but that it could. And I continued to go on and listen to my body the way that I teach. And it happened really quick. Over the course of a week, about 7-ish pounds just kind of swooshed off my body. Now, this doesn't happen like that for everyone, but I could just feel that there was some resistance to releasing this last little bit of weight that I thought would be nice for my body to release. And it was holding on to it because there was this belief that if we lose this, we won't have anything else to strive for. And then where will we get our validation? And what will we focus in on? So when you're kind with yourself and become a safe place for yourself, you can do this. When you tie your worth to the process through validation, through we're doing it, and so forth, then your brain's going to think, oh no, if we arrive at some place, then where will we get all these other needs met? What will we do then? Who would we be then? That's identity work again. Who will we be when we're just at ease and not always striving, thinking life will be so much better if? Okay, now the last reason that I have for you as to why sabotage behavior occurs is that your body has learned that food can be a regulator for your nervous system and for your emotions, meaning that you might feel at ease around food and things are going really well, but guess what? Then life happens and maybe there's an argument or maybe there's a stressor at work or in a different relationship or a big move or someone gets sick or you get sick or someone dies or someone is born or right, a big life change. And then you start feeling lots of emotions, some overwhelm, some dysregulation in your nervous system, and you have not yet built the skills to support you outside of eating. See, growing up, if you feel sad, oh, eat something. If you feel mad or like the food was always offered as the solution. Oh, you're tired here, eat something. Even celebrating, everything revolves around food. Every emotion somehow has a connection to food. And I'm not saying that food can't be supportive on a deep level, even emotionally, but there's a difference between eating a supportive meal that helps ease yourself as opposed to frantically eating something because you're trying to escape the discomfort of what is going on in your life. So, why might sabotage behavior occur? Because you don't have the capacity yet to know what to do with your emotions or to regulate your nervous system except with food. But here's the problem with food. If it did a good job consistently, then I would just be teaching this totally different. I would say, well, these foods are extra helpful with this, and be sure you use these foods because this will do a better job at regulating your nervous system or getting rid of discomfort or confusion or frustration than other foods. I'll be teaching something totally different, right? But here's what happens is that most of the time doesn't help. It's only a momentary distraction. It doesn't actually get rid of the worry. It just distracts you for a short time from the worry. It doesn't actually bring clarity when you're confused. It just distracts you when you eat. The actual process of chewing and swallowing and the taste and the dopamine release that happens in your brain, all of this just distracts you from it. It doesn't actually solve for it. So why might you be having sabotage behavior? Because you haven't yet grown in capacity to know what to do with your emotions. That's emotional awareness. That's the second pillar, that second big thing that I teach women. And you don't know how to regulate your nervous system. You don't know how to create calm in your life. What happens is that when you're overwhelmed, when you're overstimulated, when your nervous system is dysregulated, it becomes really difficult to think up here with your clear, conscious, true, divine thinking self, your prefrontal cortex. You're stuck down here in survival brain when you're overstimulated. You have to learn how to create calm in your body so that you can switch back up here into your prefrontal cortex and make decisions for reasons that you like, as opposed to knee-jerk survival responses. Okay, so let's go from the top down real quick. I'm just going to go over each one real fast. What are the 4 different reasons why sabotage behavior occurs most often that I've noticed? 1 is that you haven't created a new identity to support the change yet. 2, you feel unsafe. Your nervous system feels unsafe to operate in this uncharted territory. It might be great for a period of time, and then your nervous system's like, nope, bring it back. We got to get back to safety within our window of tolerance. Okay. The book to read about that is Gay Hendricks' book called The Big Leap. And then the other book I mentioned was Feeling is the Secret by Neville Goddard. The third reason is that you've tied the process of trying to lose weight to your self-worth or your validation, or for feeling of accomplishment as well. And then the fourth reason why sabotage with behavior with food happens is that you have not created the capacity to know how to solve for your emotions or to regulate your nervous system without food being involved. So what's the solution? Increasing your capacity. Okay. And that's a whole nother episode, several episodes actually. All right. Thank you so much. I want you to realize I'm always doing either live classes or recorded classes. So check in the description below to be able to go to my website, to be able to listen to one of my pre-recorded classes or one of my live workshops. Please share this podcast with others. Leave reviews because it helps the mission of this podcast to grow, which is to become an ally with your God-given body. You were not sent here to struggle with food and to be constantly focused in on losing fat, but you were sent here on this earth to thrive and create and live out God's plan for you. Thanks so much. Don't forget to share the podcast, and we'll see you next time. Check the description to find more content. See you later. Bye-bye.